All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Annapolis Board of Appeals regular meeting for February 3rd, 2026. The meeting is being broadcast on the City of Annapolis YouTube channel. The agenda for tonight's meeting may be found on the city's website, and on the agenda you'll find several bits of useful information, the link to the YouTube channel, the link to the form that you need to file if you want to provide comments in a case before the board, and a link to the city's database for information about the cases that you'll hear about tonight. Before we start, let me remind everyone that communication with any member of the board about any case, other than by a party to the case, must go through the comment form on the city's website. No one should contact any member of the board directly. If a party needs to contact the board regarding a case, they should go through the Planning and Zoning Liaison Office. In this case, it would be called Mike or Kim. So no one should contact any member of the board directly. So we'll begin with a roll call.
Dr. Chen?
Present.
Mr. Ramsden?
Present.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Mr. Zazali?
Yes, just.
Mr. Walsh?
Present.
I think you've all had a chance to look at the agenda. I want to suggest a modification to the agenda to take the variance matter first, which I think will be shorter.
No objection.
And get that out of
So
the way.
moved.
With that amendment to the agenda, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks. We've got minutes from January 6, 2026. Any corrections or additions to the minutes? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, the first case today is variance 2025-004, a variance application by property owners to the required 40-foot front yard setback to 29.9 feet for the construction of a porch canopy, the 40-foot rear yard setback to 11.9 feet for the construction of a rear addition, 40-foot rear yard setback to 8.8 feet for the construction of a rear entry roof overhang, and a variance from the critical area rules to disturb 827 square feet of steep slopes and 367 square feet of steep slope buffer for portions of the above described improvements for the existing dwelling at 209 Norwood Road. Mr. Meekins, would you like to introduce the case?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'll allow a second for the applicant to come forward. So, Mr. Chair and board members, as Mr. Chair stated, this is a variance for several things which you enumerated on, and basically there are two small additions to the existing dwelling, and then disturbance of some steep slopes on the property for essentially a reconfiguration of some retaining walls, and an installation of a private on-site stormwater conveyance system, basically because during storms that produce heavy rainfall, the property is inundated with downhill runoff. The property is situated lower than two adjacent developed properties. So with that in mind, I would like to just say that the staff report, when I issued it and posted it online and sent it to the board members, it did not include any comments from the Critical Area Commission. And since that time, they submitted their recommendation for approval. They didn't have any specific comments.
Okay, and you'll put that in the record?
I will.
All right.
Also, the property was advertised, or the variance case was advertised in the newspaper. The property was posted, and the required mailings went out all in a timely manner.
Public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, would the applicant like to be heard?
Yes, sir. This is Mark Evans from Drum Loic Associates, a civil engineer on the project. We worked hard with the property owners here. The 3 variances are on the case. The most important one for all of us was the water issue, where we have a ton of water from the western neighbor's property, from Norwood Road, and the rear of the property, all hitting this site at the same time during heavy storms. And the design you'll see on the plans is trying to capture, because it's such a linear 80 feet of water just coming across the property line, to try and pick it up and convey it past the house. Currently, right now, they have huge filter socks protecting the crawl space and basement because it gets flooded every time. So we've designed a system we think will pick up the water as soon as it enters our property through 3 inlets and a pipe system and getting it around the house. We weren't able to take it all the way down to the eastern property line because there's an existing large tree that we're trying to save, and we have water and sewer connections to the house that are shallow that make it difficult to run pipes all the way down, but we're getting it past the house with our new layout for the retaining walls and driveway pad. We're reducing lot coverage in the impervious area. We designed a proposed stormwater management system to handle our own roof area and treatment because the site currently has no stormwater management. And then we have 2 small additions, a little addition on the rear to give a little bump out so the access to the basement as you come in through the house is a little wider. And then we have no coverage. We have 2 open porches that you just have no coverage, just to get a little canopy coverage for the front entry porch and the rear porch.
And I understand that you've reduced lot coverage?
Yes, we reduced lot coverage and are now providing stormwater management and stormwater conveyance as well.
Questions from the board? Michael? All right. In that case, we'll mark the staff report, the application, the exhibits to both, the drawing that you circulated earlier. And we'll close the record. We ready to deliberate on this one?
Yep.
Who would like to take the lead?
Want me to take a crack at it? Good. Mr. Chairman, I'll take a crack at it. So, I find that the plan as proposed has a terrific advantage in that a lot that did not have proper stormwater management, in fact, very little stormwater management at all, is now containing a very comprehensive stormwater management system to handle the downhill flow of the water onto the property and beyond. Also, the gentleman from Drum Loic indicated that there'll be a lot coverage is reduced, and going through the criteria of the variance for granting a variance, clearly this property was pre-existed the current city code, and it is particular and kind of unique. It is unique in its circumstance. If they weren't able to get this kind of relief, they wouldn't be able. Getting that kind of relief would be impossible on this lot. The only question I had was, is this the absolute minimum relief that you're looking for? Kim, I should have Michael. Is you satisfied that this is?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, I'm satisfied that this is the absolute minimum relief that they would
Be afforded?
require.
Okay. So for those reasons, and with the meeting the other requirements of variance criteria, I would vote in favor of approving this variance.
Christian?
I've studied the plans, I found them admirable, well reasoned and. Oh, sorry. I found the approach to be very satisfactory to their request. I found no reason to.
Doctor?
I believe that someone mentioned that there was development that's occurred afterwards that's causing part of the runoff problem?
If I stated that, I stated that incorrectly.
Oh,
There's uphill improvements to lots that are
okay, never mind.
existing developments.
yeah, existing,
yeah.
okay, not a problem. I have no comments.
Mr. Ramsden? I just wonder why the city let the folks uphill create such a problem, that's all. All right, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that variance 2025-00004 be approved with the inclusion of the staff recommendations as submitted by the staff report by Mr. Meekins, and I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, enjoy your additions. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you for hearing this.
All right, our next case is Special Exception 2025-007, application by the owner of Forward Brewing for a special exception to allow seasonal outdoor dining in the existing parking lot. Property is located at 418 4th Street. This has been continued from the January 6th meeting at the request of the applicant. Before we get into this, Mr. Ramsden, are any disclosures you'd like to make?
Yes, thanks. So my wife has in the past completed an unpaid internship with Dales Associates. She's decided to not sign an employment agreement with the firm, and she has never completed any legal work on this case. The extent of her internship was confined to just administrative and shadowing.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any questions about Clint's disclosure? Okay. This is a continued case, a lot of interest. Let me say something before we start about what this case isn't about. Reading the extensive discussion in social media and in the comments, it seems like there's some misinformation out there. This case is not about whether Forward Brewing can continue to do business on 4th Street. This case is not about whether it can continue to have outdoor dining. Last year, the council passed a bill that encourages outdoor dining, and it assigned this board the job of deciding how many seats are appropriate for each outdoor dining location, are appropriate in the sense that they will not result in adverse consequences to the neighborhood. That's what this hearing is about. Nothing else. They're going to be here as long as they want to be here. They're going to have outdoor dining. We're just going to decide how many seats. So with that, we have an extensive list of comments. Mr. Dales, would you like to give us statistics again, since you seem to be keeping a running total?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, what's the question?
How many comments we've had?
I don't think I've got it. I can't keep track of it.
You're not up
Just
to date.
It's going up and up.
Are we up to 200 yet? Yeah, okay.
I think
We're
not
over
quite,
200.
but close.
All right. Ms. Burke, would you like to start off where we are from planning and zoning?
Yes,
point of
well,
view?
some of what you said was what I was going to say, but also in the matter of disclosure, years ago, I worked for Bay Engineering, and Bay Engineering prepared the site plan for the original Forward Brewing application.
For the previously issued special
Yes, in
exception?
2018.
Yeah. Let's make that application part of the record here as well.
Okay. I mean, part of the original site plan, I think, didn't you put part of that in the record, Phil, in your exhibit?
Well, a few corrections to make. I'll wait until it's my turn, but It was a variance that was before this board, not a special exception. It was a
Right.
variance to setbacks, and Ms. Burke was a civil engineer specifically on that case. We were asked to, whether the applicant would waive any kind of conflict on that, and we did. We said it was fine for Ms. Burke, from our perspective, to be the reviewer on the matter.
Right, thank you. So go.
Making that clear for the record. Okay, so I just want to start off by saying what exists now. Currently, Forward Brewing has an existing approval for 28 indoor seats and 28 seats total, 6 of those being outdoor patio seats. The original approval required 8 parking spaces, which are available on site. Based on previous issues with noise from surrounding residents, the applicant, or Forward Brewing, applied for a parking waiver, and that was received for the 3 spots in the rear of the property. So currently, there are 5 approved parking spaces on site that should be being used right now that there is no outdoor dining. And as you had said before, the ordinance which allowed the outdoor dining from COVID, that sunsetted October 28th, 2025, and now any restaurant that comes forward that wants outdoor dining needs approval by the Board of Appeals by way of a special exception. Planning and zoning, the city supports outdoor dining. As you said, it's just about the number that is reasonable for the neighborhood. And I guess for the record, because there was previous testimony about, Forward should be a place of people standing around outdoors. The way the ordinance reads is that outdoor dining refers to a practice of having a meal at a restaurant that offers indoor seating, but also serves to allow patrons to consume food and drinks at outdoor tables or other designated areas. And dining means food and beverages consumed while seated at a table. So just so we're clear, that is what we are approving tonight. Their initial application and the staff report says that they were asking for 95 seats. It's really 89 in the parking lot. They have 6 approved seats on their front porch with their original site design. So they were originally asking for 89 seats in the parking lot. They have since revised their ask from 89 to 77, which doesn't include the 6 on the patio. They have reduced that. They have, from what I understand, that number 77 they chose because that was what was approved for the Boatyard, like 4 doors down. And to clarify, Boatyard received approval for 60 spots in their parking lot and 17 on their patio. So their patio is a little bit bigger than Forward. So they got approval for 77 total, but only 60 in their parking lot. I just wanted to clarify that.
And this special exception process only applies to seats in the parking lot.
Yes, because they already have approval for their 6
right.
on their patio.
Right.
The city appreciates their redesign. The applicants came back and they pulled their tables. They reduced their number. They pulled their tables from the rear. They're setting up a privacy fence that separates more from the rear properties, which is where the noise issues have been in the past. They are, well, I'm sure Phil is going to explain this. They're lowering their tables, like they're not high seating tables, they're low, which promotes, helping people not standing up outside if you're seated lower more than bar top tabletops. The city appreciates that. The department, so the department is liking the changes that they have recently submitted in an effort to reduce the numbers and maintain more of a outdoor seated situation that the ordinance drives them to do.
Is there a hard close
What does that mean?
when service will stop at night?
There is, Mr. Chairman. We'll cover that in testimony, or we can answer now if you prefer.
Why don't you tell us now?
So we close around 9:30 in the evenings during the summer, 8:30 on Sundays, and 9 during weekdays. During the winter or the non-summer months, I should say, usually we close a little bit earlier outside with the daylight. Often our outdoor space self-closes. We start stacking chairs from the back to the front, so we're not seating more people as we get closer or further into the evening.
Okay,
Does that answer?
thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
That's okay, and just so you know, they actually close earlier than the ordinance allows. Okay, so when the application came in, and obviously the boatyard had just come in before, we did a rough tally of the restaurants in the city that had outdoor dining in every aspect: porches, patios. The boatyard is the only other parking lot. And just to get a ratio of indoor versus outdoor seating for all the restaurants, Lisa Manker is here if you have any questions about that. She did that study. And basically there are no restaurants that has more outdoor seating than indoor. So that is how the city came up with 45. That gives them a little bit more than what they currently have, which would be more percentage-wise than any other restaurant in the city. But that's just how we came about the number of 45. Let's see. So the city, we were just trying to find a balance of what was reasonable based on community input, the immediate surrounding neighborhood concerns with parking and noise and traffic. Like I said, and we did miss a couple restaurants, which the applicant made us aware of, and when we went back and re-evaluated the restaurants that they wanted us to include, they were also had more indoor dining than outdoor dining. So if the board is considering allowing an increase in more than what the city has recommended, I just wanted to remind you that the boatyard has 60 approved in their parking lot, 17 on their front porch.
Let me ask you about the parking lot for a second. So there are 5 spots that they're required to have, and they'd be subject to this special exception.
So if you go to our conditions, one of our conditions is because with COVID, it was all year long. So the noise complaints were from the people,
Right.
in the outdoors. So there's going to be 3 months out of the year
Yeah.
where there is not going to be outdoor dining.
Right.
Effectively, there's going to be no noise. So
And
one of our conditions
All those
was
parking spaces will be.
to open up all 8 parking
Now,
spaces.
during outdoor dining, how many of those spaces are used for parking versus outdoor dining?
None. They're using their whole parking lot.
And so if we were to approve a number of seats that would reduce the required number of parking spaces, so they were required to have one more, would it be safe for someone to park in there while people are eating there?
So the way their lot is laid out, you can't park in there if they have outdoor dining.
Yeah, okay. So,
But the number of outdoor dining seats isn't related to the seats they have.
okay, I get that.
Okay.
But you agree that, first of all, saving 1 or 2 parking spots isn't going to make a difference in the
Not for the
parking
outdoor
situation
dining, no.
in 4th Street. And that if they're going to have outdoor dining at all, there's not going to be any parking back there.
Correct.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is for the 3 months out of the year, they
Right,
would then in
right,
turn
right.
have 8 spots instead of 5.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
That's okay. So that was what I was, if the city, obviously, we assume that there will be some number on the approval, that we just ask that all of the conditions, that you adopt all of the conditions, most importantly, the ADA compliance for in and out of the restaurant, they're going to need a building permit to verify that their doorways are ADA compliant, and the revision to the parking waiver, and that all of the conditions you also apply to your approval.
Okay.
And I know the applicant has.
All right, Mr. Dales.
More to say about
Really, I mean, the question we're down to is noise. So I ask you to carefully tailor your presentation to address the real issue that we're left with.
As always, Mr. Chairman, I'll take your guidance into great account as I think about what I present in my opening and in testimony. Noise, community compatibility, parking and traffic were the issues raised in the staff report. And so we had prepared a presentation to speak to the key issues on each of those those topics.
The government's not contending that you need to leave any of those parking spaces open.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. Our view of the parking issue as presented in the staff report that we were going to speak to tonight and that we addressed in our revisions narrative after reducing the seating count was that the impact on area parking would be affected by the number of seats permitted. And that was part of the reason, as we understood it, for the city applying this proportionality rule to deciding how many seats a restaurant should have, indoor proportionate to outdoor. Right. And so in part, we had prepared a presentation regarding the history of Forward's parking requirements, the modality of people coming to Forward to show the board that there is no undue impact on traffic or parking as a result of Forward's operation of these outdoor seats. In light of what you're telling me, we will focus on our revisions that were intended to address noise and community compatibility.
Now, you relied last time on the Planning and Zoning's failure to comply timely with their, to submit their staff report. But your narrative, as if I'm not mistaken, is out of time. And the submission that you sent in yesterday or today was clearly out of time. And I don't think we've seen from you any of the list and summary of testimony that is required by the rules.
I didn't understand the last part. The list of testimony to be presented this evening?
Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, there are different rules that you're citing. The rule for the staff report is its own separate rule. And the rule you're referring to with regard to the evidence presented at a hearing has three parts to it. And the final part of that rule, Part D or E, says that the chairman can, in his discretion, allow any kind of materials in at the hearing unless he feels that the admission of those materials would prejudice someone involved in the case. Our responses in the revisions narrative are, one, unnecessary. They're intended to help provide explanation. The drawings that they are in reference to, that they explain, were submitted well in time. And they were submitted over 2.5 weeks ago now. And there is, in my mind, it's hard to understand how responses to issues raised in the staff report that we received approximately a month ago could be prejudicial to anyone. So for the chairman to choose to admit that narrative, which again is just intended to help, I don't see that prejudicing anyone. I think it can only help this hearing.
We'll admit your narrative. We're not going to take the DOT chart.
Sure. And Mr. Chairman, I didn't comment on that. That was, it's not intended as evidence that's probative of the entire case here. We just thought it would be helpful to you. It's a public document. Yep. And if you don't want us to submit that document, we can just speak to it in testimony as something that exists, that was found. And I would suggest the board just provide whatever weight to it finds worth providing.
And who are the witnesses you expect to call?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant tonight is our first witness, our second witness, and our first witness is the architect who prepared the architectural site plan that shows the seating.
All right. All right, please go ahead.
Thank you. I do want to start I have to start with a brief introduction here. To set a framework for this hearing, I think this is an unusual case. You have heard one before, but it's unusual in that this special exception is requesting something that's in fact been in existence and that we've had the outdoor dining that we applied for. It was there under different authority, but it has in fact existed. Usually when you hear a special exception case, you're hearing, we're saying what we expect the results of something we're asking for to be. We're saying we think that this proposal will meet all the criteria. The difference here, just in fact, is that what we had asked for in our original application was exactly the seating that had been there for multiple years. And the reason that's relevant to consider is that as we address the criteria for special exceptions generally, and for this particular special exception that the City Council passed into law recently, when you consider whether what we're asking for meets these criteria, you do have several years of operation that can be referenced as you weigh the evidence before you. Now, you're charged with considering the evidence that will tell you whether we meet the criteria for the special exception or not. And in this case, it's unusual that we can point to the years of operation. I say that because we filed the initial application with exactly that seating plan because we felt strongly that the years of operation from the executive order during COVID until just recently were good evidence that the operation and the seating plan out for outdoor dining had complied with all the criteria we saw set forth by the City Council. And then right before the last hearing, when we received the staff report, which came as a complete shock to us, we made changes and revisions to try to address those changes. And Mr. Chairman, that is why, with only a month between the last hearing and now, we submitted the drawings as quickly as we could and then tried to explain what those changes in the drawings were intended to do. We'd only had the staff report for that little time to think about how we would respond to them. But even with the position we've taken, which is that the criteria in the special exception are met by the years of operation that we had already established, we thought we could even more fully address those criteria by referencing the staff report and what the city staff thought about our application. And so we reduced the overall number, and the applicant will speak to the other specific changes made to address primarily noise, neighborhood compatibility. The question of traffic and parking, which was the other issue raised in the staff report, is a different subject. And on that, the last thing I'll say in my introduction before asking for testimony is that this decision should be based on the evidence in the record and what you hear tonight. And there's been, in our opinion, and as you'll hear us testify to, no evidence that there has become that there is a new traffic or parking problem since the existence of this outdoor dining several years ago. And more importantly, what really matters is there is no evidence at all that Forward has caused any part of that issue. You'll hear about its size relative to its neighbors, and then the same standards applied to those neighbors as they seek outdoor dining should be applied here as we consider whether or not this application meets the criteria. For a special exception, the staff report states at the very beginning of the staff report that there are two types of uses, permitted and special exception uses. Special exception uses being those that are deemed permitted by the council, so long as they don't cause particular harm with a set of criteria to decide that. With the staff report, almost got it completely right. Maryland case law tells us that as you apply those standards and ask yourself that question, it's not just does it meet these criteria to cause harm or not. It's when you consider the use being proposed at this specific location, will it cause harm because it's at that specific location compared to other potential locations in the zone? And here, we've got neighbors very nearby that you recently considered an application for, and for sure, different circumstances, each case is case by case. But there's nothing that we would contend there's nothing about Ford's location or its property that would create any failure of those criteria for noise, neighborhood compatibility, parking, or traffic. It's a very similar location, the exact same number of seats proposed. And we ask you, as you hear testimony and evidence, that you think about that standard, that it's, will this create harm in those ways compared to other locations in the zone? That's what a special exception use is. So, respectfully, Mr. Chairman, what we're asking for is what the new law allows for, outdoor dining, Yes or no? That's what we're asking for with the special exception. The city's proposed a condition which cuts the number of seats. I agree that seems what the two parties presenting to you tonight are advocating for. We initially asked for 89, city proposed 45, and so the question you're, I think, phrasing is, does that reduction to 77 that we've proposed, or their reduction much, much further, what is required to meet the criteria as I've just characterized them? So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd call my first witness.
Go ahead.
Do we have to swear him in?
Yes. Might as well do both of you. Do you swear or affirm, subject to the rules for perjury, that the evidence you give tonight will be true to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Actually, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think the architectural part of this testimony will go quicker. Let's get that done. We swore both witnesses in just now?
We like quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So could you give your name, address, and credentials for the record, please?
Yeah, Kurt Shepard, licensed architect, state of Maryland, principal architect, Spire Architecture here in the city.
And can you tell the board your relationship to this project and your work on this project?
We were brought in to help with documentation of site planning for the for the city, initial proposal for outdoor dining, as well as the revisions.
Okay, and can you just describe for the board, with reference to the site plan, the revised version of the seating plan that we're asking the board to consider tonight? And just in a free-form, your own words, description of the seating
Let
plan.
me remind you that we've read your narrative that describes it in pretty good detail.
I'll clarify, just to highlight the key points, please, about what's been changed from the original to with your expertise, what is the effect of those changes?
The most significant change in this was to move the larger dining area at the rear of the property, closer to the front of the property by as much as 20 feet. You help create more of a buffer between dining as well and the rear neighboring properties. That reduction also resulted in fewer of the, I think it was two-person tables that were along the sideway, 2 or 4 people tables down the side of the driving lane. Also inclusion into that was to create a barrier for people at the driveway end. Kind of a table with some chairs that were kind of aligned along that route. That was the primary set of changes.
Thank you. And approximately how much farther from the rear residential lot lines are the tables now located as compared to our original application and what's been there?
It's about 20 feet.
So to clarify, you've moved the seating 20 feet away from the residential areas, correct? Yes. Okay. And that's approximately 20 feet. And that will help for both noise and visual impacts, is that correct?
Noise as well as visual, yeah. Obviously, the further away it is, the less noise you're going to hear from people having casual conversation.
And there are several structural elements that are going to be added during the outdoor dining months to help with the visual impact, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, and those same elements, what could you describe what those are for visual impact mitigation?
Well, we have the pergolas, and then they're covering the dining tables. They're temporary structures that can be taken down and moved and relocated as necessary. That's what we've talked with the owner about. If there's anything additional to that they're really bringing in, we're not aware of them.
Now, as we received guidance to keep the seating close to the commercial areas at the front of the site, there's some elements proposed now at the front of the site too. Could you tell us what those are and how they help with operations?
If you're referring to one, I think you are, it's the barrier kind of table at the driveway aisle to prevent accidental walk-in and actually just to control traffic along that, I'll say, the sidewalk side.
Okay, thank you very much. And these outdoor seating arrangements have been proposed and located so that they work well with the indoor operations of the structure, right?
Yes, it provides walking space between the building as well and the driveway, the table side of the drive aisle. Comfortable distance between the two. It's not meant for standing and loitering. That way we have good circulation around the tables in that area.
Okay, thank you. And one last question, because in the city's presentation, they discussed the ADA handicap spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask this question again to the applicant, but if there were a space proposed along the curb cut that leads into the site, would there be room to locate that on the private property side of the right-of-way line?
There is room for an accessible handicap spot in that area. It would simply require maybe moving some tables around.
Understood. Thank you very much. That's a good, clean discussion of what's on the site now for the record. Appreciate your testimony.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, now I'll call Mr. Bodrin.
One
Yep.
question.
Yep.
The mitigation measures that we're talking about to reduce the noise, moving the tables farther away from the fence, the structures you're going to put in there. Is there any scientific data that you relied on to determine what kinds of reductions you would expect to get from those mitigation measures?
We've not done specific studies on the actual elements that are going in place, but general noise barrier technology really comes down to distance and density. Currently there are fences in the way of some of that, but the only way to really prevent hard noise is with earth berming and hard structure.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bodrin, would you just give your name and address for the record?
Sure. Camden Bodrin, 109 East Bayview Drive, Annapolis.
Okay, Mr. Bodrin, can you tell the board for the record your experience with the property and this business?
We have been a part of the property for over 20 plus years. We opened Forward in 2020 after a long application process. We immediately opened into COVID unintentionally, but that was just what happened when we opened. And we moved into outdoor dining pretty quickly after we opened.
Okay, and so we've had the outdoor dining for how long now?
I think 5 years.
And has it been approximately the number of seats in the layout that we've requested in our original application?
Yes, in the past 2 to 3 years, we've had a similar organization of chairs and tables.
Okay, and as I mentioned in my opening, we applied with the number of seats that had been out there for the most recent years, and we did that thinking it compliant with the criteria. Have you ever received any violations for noise associated with your outdoor dining?
No, we haven't received any violations for noise.
Have you been made aware of any citations or warnings for noise?
No.
And if you had been informed of any complaints for noise, or if any of your neighbors had approached you with complaints about noise, what would your response be if you had been approached?
I am open and available, and we try to make adjustments as necessary. Even prior to this, I sent out my email address and phone number. If people have questions, I'm available.
And so the city, in their testimony, had mentioned issues related to noise, but you're unaware of any finding by any department or any official complaints or citations related to noise in all of your operation?
Correct. And my understanding is that there is a measurable threshold for noise.
Okay, and you also, if I understood, could you tell the board about your experience renting and living in a space near to Forward?
Yes, last year we lived on 3rd Street, and I was particularly interested and very aware of Forward and living close by. And we never experienced any noise issues from there. And we were almost directly across from Forward on 3rd Street.
As you attempted to hear the operations, what were the hours where you generally listening to see if you could hear Forward's operations?
I feel like afternoon and evenings.
And were you able to hear operations from Forward?
I couldn't hear them.
Thank you. And so on the subject of citations, have you received any other violations related to outdoor dining over the years?
We received one recently for continuing outdoor dining past the sunset. We did this because we had been told that we could continue until our hearing, which is what we did, and we even confirmed that because doing something like that would make me nervous. And we received a violation notice. We tried to communicate with planning and zoning about this. Eventually, we were able to do that, and we were told that as long as we shut down our outdoor dining, it would be resolved, and that's what we did.
And you've received written confirmation from the city that that notice of violation, not violation, notice of violation had been abated?
Yes.
Okay, and the other subjects in that violation relate to the community compatibility element of this hearing. And so there is some allegation that rules related to service of alcohol while seated or not seated had been violated, but you've never, prior to that, heard any warning or complaint about that allegation, have you?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
That the citation you received had an allegation that people were being served alcohol while not being seated, is that right?
Yes.
And you've never previously received any notice or violation related to that issue, have you?
Violation, no.
Right, and that issue has been abated as well as the operating outdoor dining, is that correct?
Yes, I think that was part of the reason that it was abated. We were told that we were not actually in violation of the liquor license that we possess.
Well, and there's been no finding by any agency, board, or other city authority that you've been in violation of that requirement, is that right?
Correct.
Thank you. So, Mr. Bodrin, your architects has described the changes made to the application. The board's read our narrative revisions. But can you talk to the board specifically about the changes you've made to control the operations and change your operations of the outdoor dining?
For what we're proposing, we have, as we mentioned, proposed to reduce the number of seats, to bring the back of the outdoor dining closer to the front. I think we're moving it up 20 feet from what we initially proposed. And I should say that it's not 20 feet from the back of the property line. I think initially we were at around 30 feet from the property line. So it's 50 feet. I think the buffer for the code, the required code, is 10 feet. So significantly more than the requirement. And I think that puts us at about 145 feet from the residents behind us, which we have a good relationship with and we communicate regularly. We have changed some of our tables from the high tops that we've had in the past to lower picnic tables. The thought being here is that it provides more of a barrier from standing up and walking away from the table. Also puts people closer to their kids. And I think given the new code requirements for outdoor dining, we are going to be instructing our customers that food and drink do need to remain at the tables, and we may have to go as far as putting notices describing that on the tables. And I'm trying to think what else.
Well, let's take some of this one by one.
Sure.
So with the structural elements you're adding, how are you containing where the outdoor dining will take place within the parking lot?
So we are adding a privacy fence in the back to screen the back of the parking lot and to help concentrate and contain patrons from following a toddler into the parking lot behind our dining area. We've always wanted to put a fence up, but considering the temporary nature, we've hesitated to do that.
And how will having your outdoor dining condensed into a smaller area help you to enforce the policy that you've just described?
I think people won't travel as much from one table to another, and we'll have more staff closer to our customers.
And the intent is your staff can observe the outdoor dining area more easily.
And correct it, yes.
Right. And then the elements at the front of the site that we spoke to very briefly, how are they intended to help your staff ensure compliance with the rules that people be seated and have food with their drinks?
So putting the barriers in the front will essentially funnel anybody coming in to the sidewalk and a host stand. So it'll be a little bit easier to control the flow, and also the barriers will provide some protection from the street.
So essentially, it helps with the challenge of managing a crowd to be compliant with the rules you're asking them to follow. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Bodger, on the issue of the handicap space, it's your understanding that the new law allows you to reduce your parking to 0 spaces. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right, and there are specific requirements if you do request a reduction to 0 parking spaces during that outdoor dining period, correct?
Correct.
And so it's our position, your position, that no handicap space is strictly required, correct?
Correct.
And yet in the staff report, you read a suggestion from Department of Planning and Zoning staff about where 2 other locations where a parking space could be located for ADA parking. Could you tell the board about those 2 spaces and your willingness to adjust the plan to accommodate them if they find that to be necessary?
I think it was proposed that it could be on the street, or it could be in front of the drive aisle. We had been open to putting it in the front of the driveway if necessary, but we were told that that would obstruct the sort of the streetscape of outdoor dining, which is considered to be an attractive element.
So to be clear, one suggestion from staff was that a space on the public street be striped and indicated to be a ADA space, correct?
Correct.
And if that were the location, you understand you'd still have to provide an accessible path into the restaurant and to the outdoor dining?
Correct.
Okay, and then the other alternative proposed in the city staff report was that the apron of the lot, so not on the streetscape, but within your private property, have a handicap space, correct?
Correct.
And if located there, if the board thought that a condition should be imposed to locate one there, you understand you would still need to have an accessible path into the restaurant and dining area?
Yes.
Okay. I think this might be, the central issue in the seating count from the city staff report perspective, not so much the noise or community compatibility perspective. But there is a suggestion about the number of outdoor seats being limited based on a proportionality to the number of, the outdoor seats being limited based on proportionality to the number of indoor seats. Your restaurant, to the best of your knowledge, is the smallest in terms of seating for indoor seats already currently approved for any in the block or the area. Is that right?
Correct.
And even were the board to approve the number of seats you've proposed, you would still be, to your knowledge, the smallest, if not one of the 2 smallest in the Eastport area. Is that correct?
Yes, we could fit inside of other restaurants.
Right, so outdoor and indoor combined would be less than other restaurants in Eastport, correct?
Just their indoor dining.
Right. They would be smaller than just the indoor dining for other restaurants.
Correct.
Right. And so the traffic and parking need created by your total number of spaces would be, by that observation, less than the demand from the indoor spaces at other restaurants.
Yes.
Okay. And you've requested no more than any other applicant for outdoor dining has requested in your area. Is that right?
As far as I know.
Okay. And specifically with Forward's generation of parking and traffic, since we've referenced the old approvals, there was a parking adjustment approved, and you submitted a study to the city, which was accepted with the application that was approved to reduce the required parking ratio because of this study. Can you describe that study to the board?
Yes. Well, I'd like to first say that the reason we did that was this all happened before we opened. And one of the neighbors who is catty-cornered to the rear of our lot was concerned about the sound of car doors slamming in the parking lot. So he appealed our variance, and we went to mediation, and we essentially said we wouldn't put anything in those 3 parking spaces. So there was no violation because we hadn't even opened yet.
Well, and I understand what you're trying to clarify for the board, Mr. Bodrins. It was stated in city testimony that because of noise complaints or a noise issue, that there was a buffer added to the rear of the site, which then led to the request for the parking waiver. What you're clarifying is that you had not been in operation. There was just concerns about potential noise resulting in the use of those spaces for landscaping and vegetation. And that's why you applied for the parking waiver, correct?
Correct.
But that parking waiver was not granted just on your need for it. It was granted because of the study you provided. So what did that study show?
I don't remember all the details of that study, but it did show that people do arrive at Forward by other means, not necessarily parking cars on the street.
Did the study, as you recall, show that the way that people will arrive at Forward uses less vehicle trips than other standard restaurants subject to the regular parking requirement?
I believe so.
And you also did a survey of your customers, correct?
Yes.
And you asked them how they arrived to Forward?
Yes.
And a large number, a high proportion of them arrived without using their own vehicles, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. So, Mr. Beaudrin, I think I want to come to the issue of noise and neighborhood compatibility generally. Now, you've been in operation since 2019, and I think the board's going to hear a lot of testimony from neighbors and people who know Forward and have opinions about its impact on the neighborhood, both with noise and neighborhood compliance. As I listen to those opinions, what has your experience been with your neighborhood, your surroundings, and Forward's impact on those surroundings?
I feel like I've regularly just heard messages describing Forward. And I feel like I read a lot of the testimony leading up until tonight, and I heard words repeated like vibrancy, positive street presence, a third space for neighbors to gather, a community hub.
We've read them all.
For sure.
Okay, Mr. Beaudrin, just one last specific question. You're not using all of your space, all of your parking lot as you asked for this outdoor dining, are you?
Correct. We're only using roughly half of it in what we propose.
And so you haven't just tried to ask for as many seats as you could fit, correct?
Correct.
And those seats that you have asked for are less than you've been operating for the last several years?
Yes.
And over those last several years operating more than you're asking for now, it's been your experience that you've had no negative impact on the community by way of complaints or citations, violations from the city or neighbors?
Correct.
Okay, and overall, would you say that Forward enjoys a positive and additive relationship with its community?
Yes.
And are there some groups that come there and regularly that make Forward part of the community?
Yes, we have regular weekly events, but we also have groups that have come annually.
And the outdoor dining is not just integral to their use of the property, but critical for Forward's continued operation as it currently operates, right?
Yes.
Okay. And 77 was the lowest number of seats that you felt could sustain that operation?
Correct. We still have to, if we have any outdoor seating, we still have the same fines or fees, I should say, for all of the parking spaces that are blocked. So, I can't say what 45 seats looks like, but I know cutting it in half, what we've been doing, won't work.
Okay. So you've made all the changes that you can to sustain this young family environment and a community positive relationship with this floor plan and your new plan of operation. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Beaudrin. And Mr. Chairman, I'd reserve some time for closing after the public comment to respond to anything stated in public comment here tonight.
Sir, you said that the first notice you had of a violation problem regarding standing and drinking or drinking without food was this recent incident. Yeah.
No, that was not the first one. That was the most recent one. We had one in 2023.
Not related to outdoor. Not related to outdoor.
I'm unclear on what it was actually about. We received, I remember meeting the inspector at Forward, and I think we just had Bike Club come in, and they hadn't started sitting down yet. He told me that they needed to sit down, so we had them sit down, and I thought it was resolved then. Then we received a notice in the mail, and I spoke with John Manassa, and then I think the inspector came out again, and I saw that it was resolved.
So you never had to pay a fine for that?
No, we didn't pay a fine.
And that was indoor operations, correct?
I believe it was indoor.
But you don't contend that people have not been standing and drinking in the outdoor area?
No, I think that, as I said, we've had high top tables. We have stools for patrons. Often they stand right next to their stool. I do not deny that people have stood.
And you're going to try in good faith to comply with serving alcohol only when you're seated and eating?
Correct, which is the new code.
And you're not going to give free popcorn and snacks to get around that?
That's not my plan,
Yeah,
no.
Good. Okay. Let's hear from the public then. We have a list of people who signed up online. If you have submitted written comments or testified at the last meeting, I'd ask you not to repeat any of that, but only tell us what is new that you think we need to know, and to keep it as brief as possible. I'll just take them in the order that I've seen them. Krisha Balages, please give us your name and address.
Mr. Chair, can we suggest duration, 2-minute max with 90-second?
Have you submitted written comments?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to keep it to no more than 1 minute.
My name is Krisha Balages. There you go. My name is Krisha Balages. I live at 955 Deer Creek Run. And I just wanted to say I am coming on my 2nd year as a server at Forward, and a lot of the conversation has been around the business and the neighbors, but I think a group that you haven't really heard much from are the people who work directly for Cam and Claire. And
We have quite a few written comments from staff.
Okay. I just want to say the difference between having the outdoor seating and not having it is I'm almost unable to put it into words, how much of a difference it makes in terms of paying my bills, taking care of my family, and just being able to work my job and not have to wonder which of my utilities could I maybe hold off on paying for the next month, because we do work for tips and we love our community, and as we've heard, they have a lot to say about us. And it really is just a lifesaver being able to have those extra seats and being able to, again, not have to think about which bills I can maybe push off and which ones are getting paid this month.
That's just about a minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brian Becker? No, thank you. Mr. Buckley? No?
Oh, he was here last time. Everybody's on the list, even if they already.
I'm sorry, Mr. Buckley, you get the 1-minute rule.
I apologize.
It's rough out there. Come on, I've got to get more than 1 minute. Sorry, okay. Gavin Buckley, 6 Stewart Avenue. I want to point out that COVID changed everything in this city. And I know a little bit about outdoor seating. I know a little bit about bike lanes, as you all know. People in Eastport go there because it's amazing. From Bread and Butter to Eastport Kitchen to Lunis's to Davis's to the Maritime Museum, people come to that peninsula because it's a dynamic peninsula. These guys are on what is the main street of Eastport. 4th Street is the main street of Eastport. Annapolis is a historic port. The commerce came first. This city had drunken sailors and watermen and prostitutes and open sewage and all those sorts of things that people, that was the center of the city, and the residents came around that. And I'm sorry, if you live near a main street, you have to be aware of that. And if that main street is successful, your business, your plan as a resident shouldn't be, I hope that none of those businesses on that street work so that I can enjoy some quiet enjoyment. And I would say that's what people deal with downtown on the historic district, and that's what people have to deal with if they live close to 4th Street.
We get your point.
So I would just say, let's look at this model like we see in Newport. Who's been to Newport? 1 million locations where there's a small interior space and a massively activated outdoor space. It makes that city dynamic. Go to Europe, all over Europe, we see the same thing. Let's activate our outdoors. Let's give these guys a chance to activate their outdoors in the winter. That's a big problem for this city. We don't have outdoor heating. We don't have the exciting things that they have in Europe. So please do what the majority of the people want. Don't do what the loudest, angriest people want. That's always happens in this city. You know, I've experienced that firsthand. The silent majority are really the people we should be listening to. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Beth Caro. Ms. Caro, have you submitted written comments?
Yes, I have.
So you'll keep it to a minute or less, please.
Not a problem. I'll keep it very brief. My name is Beth Caro. I reside at 115 Elliott Place in Edgewater, but I am also a business owner on 4th Street. As a neighboring business owner on 4th Street, I am familiar with the limited parking utility of this narrow area, which has long functioned more effectively as an outdoor dining than vehicle parking. The city's 2022 outdoor dining pilot analysis confirmed the economic benefits of the outdoor seating and recognized that parking impacts vary by location. In this case, eliminating the outdoor dining or reducing it to where we could not enjoy this neighborhood area would be a dissatisfaction to the neighboring area of Eastport. As a business owner, I come in the morning. I am there until the night, usually 7 p.m. So I can attest to the parking situation. There is constantly able parking for anyone that wants to come in. But I will just end by saying I do see many folks coming and traveling to this area by bike or foot. So thank you very much for the time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Caton. Ms. Caton, have you submitted written comments?
Yes, sir, I did.
1 minute rule, please.
I'll keep it brief. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Sarah Caton. I live at 928 Wells Avenue in Eastport. Mr. Chair, per your request, you said please focus on the noise, so I'm going to kind of throw away my written statement here just to say that hearing tonight that has been no official complaints and no official violations towards noise seems to say that the way they were operating function within city code. And I urge the committee board to continue to allow Forward to operate at their current capacity or the capacity that they resubmitted in good faith working with the city. I think that limiting the capacity would limit not just their business, but the amazing benefits that they have given the community. So hopefully that was succinct enough. Thank you for reading the better.
You get extra points for brevity.
Thank you very much.
All right. Ian Christie.
I have submitted a request online. My name is Dr. Ian Christie. I reside at 808 Tyler Avenue in Annapolis. So the proposed changes are going to be having a far more negative impact on the brewery, which is a local business that actively supports its community rather than additional parking spots. And as a family who goes there regularly by foot, by biking, and by parking, I can attest that there is plenty of parking in the neighborhood that you can easily find. Annapolis is hard to find parking to begin with. Imagine the boat show where they use the elementary school parking lot. In regards to the noise, I know that was mentioned a lot. By doing the reduction from 20 feet to 50 feet, that should reduce the decibels probably by around 25. So that should be well below the limit of 65 that is supposed to be done by 10 p.m., which is well after the brewery closes. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Conlon? No. Will Kuna?
Mr. Chair, I actually practiced my speech for the 2 minutes, but I will be as brief as possible because that's the normal.
Yeah, half is better.
Yeah, well, I will do my best, but I did practice. Good evening. My name is Will Kuna. I live at 406 Jefferson Street in Eastport, and I'm the co-founder of Eastport's Coffee and a homeowner right in Eastport. My husband and I used to live on 4th Street and stand here tonight from lived experience in the community to speak in strong support of Ford's request. I want to focus on two things: the merit of this application and the extraordinary community Ford has built. First, on the merits, I was shocked when I read the staff report for this request. The tone and structure read less like objective analysis and more like an opinion piece designed to cast suspicion where none exists. Embedded phrases invite the reader to assume hidden motives.
I think you said those exact words in your written.
I did, but I'm going to keep going. Despite the report itself affirming that Ford request is squarely within the city's established rules and requirements. Let's be clear about why we are here. Ford worked with the city to help create the very outdoor dining rules that now require this special exception. Tonight, they are here not because they are attempting to bend the rules, but because they are trying to follow them. Here are the facts. Ford has operated since May 16, 2020. They have provided outdoor dining since 2021 and now are requesting fewer seats than they've operated with for years. They're requesting the same number of total outdoor seats approved for a neighboring business less than 300 feet away, which is approved with high
All right,
praise.
Mr. Kuna, your time is up. We've heard this before. Thank you very much.
If I can just finish, please.
You're reading exactly what you submitted. We've all read it.
If I may
You can
continue,
read it
sir.
online.
The question is whether this board.
Sit down, sir. Kelsey DeFada. Matthew Dolan.
My name is Matt Dolan. I live at 1904 Loose Creek Court. My family, I want to say, stumbled into Forward Brewing, but we were sober when we got there just before the pandemic, and it has really been a wonderful place for us. I would say in our society, you know, I've heard your deliberations about, hey, we should minimize the amount of interactions between tables at Forward Brewing. We should minimize the amount of people at Forward Brewing outside, but there's a quality that Forward Brewing has brought to the community that no other restaurant has in Annapolis, and it's why my family bikes or walks or runs over there, hosts a running club every Thursday night. Sorry, it's not the official one, but we're there and we sit outside year-round. There's a quality of being outside. The mayor mentioned this with regards to Europe. People sit outside, and so the metric of saying that there's no other restaurant with more outside seating than inside seating is kind of irrelevant. We should have more restaurants with more outside seating. And the fact that you're all deliberating that we should have less interaction between tables is also a little bit, you should reflect on that and see that doesn't make sense.
We're not deliberating on that. That's
what I'm saying is, but you've talked about that, is that's one of the regulations that the city report. I know, but that's what the city report mentions. But my point being is you need to keep the essence of what these owners have created at Forward Brewing. It's important to all of us because it has built community. You don't believe me. You were asking a lot of questions about Forward Brewing. You've never even been there. So what I'm saying is it is a very good business for Annapolis. It is very meaningful to a lot of people. Our generation has given the next generation some things that, you know, we need to cure. And one of them being obesity, another one being loneliness. And the fact that Forward Brewing...
Wrap it up, please.
I'll wrap it up. The fact that Forward Brewing has created this community where a lot of people come out, they walk, they run, they bike, and they show up. the fact that you would just, the city report would say, hey, you applied for 89, we're going to split it in 2 to 45, that's reasonable. Yeah, but that doesn't capture what Forward Brewing's trying to do. They're trying to build community, and you as elected leaders need to support that. You need to support this community in building what Forward Brewing has tried to do. And if you just split the baby and say, we're down to 45, it takes away what Forward Brewing wants and what the community wants.
No one's elected us. Thank you.
Huh? Well, I'm glad, because I would move for your...
Mary Ewenson.
Huh? So I think it's important that we really... I think it's important that you support a local business that really devotes itself to some of the big issues that we're facing, and that's interconnectedness. And outdoor seating is important because there's a difference. When you see families show up with dogs and kids, and you're going to say that they can't interconnect at Forward Brewing,
Right.
it's kind of frustrating.
You're finished. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.
Mary, is Mary Ewenson back tonight? No. Bailey Feldman?
Hi, everyone. My name's Bailey Feldman. I live at 22 Monroe Court. I also own a small business and physical office space off 100 Cathedral Street. I'm a mom of 3. Me and my husband have lived in Annapolis for 15 years. I'm not going to read most of this stuff because it's in my comments. I think something for me that I'm hearing tonight is important is it makes sense that there's tension and that this is a unique case. And I think specifically as a business owner, Cam and Claire came into business during a time of disruption with COVID. And I think what they did is they faced the models that existed and they had to recreate that. They built a culture, they built a business around this new way of gathering. And they actually built something for the city that gave back immediately in a time of need, in a time where lots of places couldn't open or provide the same thing. And so they've built the business and the structure that they have in a time of need that gave back to the city. And now it feels like the city is trying to pull back after something was given to them and the space was created that created a mutual benefit for both parties. As a business owner, politely disagree with this fact that this is not a hearing about if this business can continue to operate. If you cut 89, 99 people down to 28, that is a significant impact. If you did that in my business, it would impact the amount of people I could hire and employ. It would impact my ability to give back to the community, and it would impact if I could actually sustain this business and the livelihood. My children love Forward. We move around. We primarily get there via dinghy because we live downtown. And so I just really encourage the community, like the previous spoke, like we are in a pandemic, like we are in a crisis of belonging. And Cam and Claire have built a restaurant that also focused and was designed specifically to build community, the way it operated, the way the tables worked, the way that the gathering space was created outside. And gathering is extremely important right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm not, sorry, I'm almost done. I had to get rid of my notes, and I agree. I thought we had 2 minutes. I've studied gathering, and this is really important. How we create spaces that are designed for intergenerational communities to connect, share ideas, share opinions is integral to civic engagement and to how we build our cities. So tonight, this isn't just a vote about noise or about if this business can stay open or not or how outdoor seating. It's really a vote on what is this precedent? What are we gonna set? What type of businesses in city, what type of city do we want to build and who do we want to be building for? Because as a business owner, as a family, I'd like to stay here, but that's not going to happen if this is going to be a place that's going to work for me and serve my family, my community, and its needs. Thank you.
Ben Goldine. Colin Gottimer. Did you submit written testimony, sir?
Yeah, I'll
1 minute.
I'll do a minute. You guys read that. I apologize. I reread it before I got up here. I'll try and keep it really quick and really brief. I think Phil and Cam did a really good job of pointing out on the comments and the issues that you guys seem to have with the variance. It's obvious that there's a community here that I haven't seen at other places. I've grown up in Annapolis and been to a lot of the different restaurants and locations, and this is the first time that I've ever been in City Hall to do something like this. So I think that speaks to the community that they've created, that's existed since the business has been open, and there's a chance to allow that to continue through the variance that they've submitted. I think that the points that they make touch on your points, the issues that you guys seem to have with it. I think they meet those. I think they more than make up for whatever noise issues that are perceived. Again, I think that the community has shown up for a group. They'd like to continue to have it, outdoor dining, and the ability to have the people that it is what creates that community that we have right here today to come and see you guys.
Thank you.
On the button.
Max Gross.
My name is Max Gross, 215 Taylor Avenue. I did not submit online comments, just a statement that I did want to testify tonight. I want to disclose also that I am testifying as a private citizen. I am a lobbyist in my day job, so I did want to make clear that this is just me, Max Gross, not the Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors. But I do spend a lot of time in hearings and a lot of time listening to land use issues and a lot of time learning about what businesses care about, what they don't care about, and what it's like to try to run one in Annapolis. And I think that we should zoom out a little bit and look at the power in this room to shape the customer service experience of businesses in this city. The businesses in this city struggle to continue to exist. As was said earlier tonight, you opened tonight by saying this is not a hearing about whether or not they can stay in business, and I disagree. All hearings about how someone does their business and what rules apply to them and what regulations are going to apply to them and how they have to fight them. This is the opportunity for people who do business in Annapolis to come here, raise their points, and have a decision made. This is not an opportunity to have, this is not just simply, if it were just about what does the law say, we could do this with AI. We don't need a board. We don't need you guys appointed. We don't need any of that. If we just look at the rules, you have discretion. You have power. That is what has been given to you in this appointment. That is what your responsibility is in this appointment. You can make the decision yourselves. You are not bound simply by, the staff report or...
I think we understand our authority.
Great. I accept that you understand your authority, and I hope that you handle it with care this evening. Thank you.
Garrett Harper. Mr. Harper, did you submit comments?
Yes, I did. So
1 minute.
Quick. My name is Garrett Harper, 406 Jefferson Street, formerly of 434th Street. Lived right next to Forward for 3 years when we first moved to Annapolis. It's a great community space, as I think everybody has pointed out tonight. I think what I just want to point out is obviously Cam and Claire are locals here in the community. They care very much about it. They're not going to do anything that is detrimental to the community that they grew up in, that they love. They want to be here for us tonight. And the only other thing I want to point out is that as I was reading through all the attachments for tonight's meeting, there were several emails that were sent directly that were attached to the meeting. In the rules of procedure, it says that everything has to be filled out via the form that has a word limit. So I just want the board to consider that. Some of those emails were quite lengthy beyond the word limit and were attached to tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Warren Hendrickson. Mr. Hendrickson, did you submit written comments?
I did.
All right. Your time.
Warren Hendrickson, 550 Defense Highway, Crownsville. I am submitting comment as head brewer of Forward Brewing. I have worked with Cam and Claire over the last 6 years in building out the brewery and restaurant. Despite opening during the pandemic, the most challenging time for a business to survive, they have built a great and unique space in Eastport, a town favorite for friends and families to gather. They have employed myself and many others and provide a great environment to serve the community with. They have also done numerous events over the years for charities and environmental and social causes and have made this a central part of the business. I believe that Forward is being unfairly punished with this staff report, which threatens cutting their outdoor dining capacity in half due to parking requirements that are both outdated and unfairly targeted at this business. This would not only be a huge hindrance to the business, but also to the livelihoods of our employees. The 5 parking spaces that Forward would have to maintain would not have a significant impact on the lack of parking in Eastport, and there are several other restaurants and bars in the area that have outdoor dining are open far later in the night than Forward and are not being targeted by this report. I believe that Forward is being targeted by a very small amount of people in the neighboring area that have chosen Forward as the scapegoat for the parking issues that existed in Eastport before Forward opened and will persist as long as there are businesses in the neighborhood. I am asking this council to reconsider the staff report and not punish the small business that has been and will continue to be a great addition to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Hooper. Sean Robert Jacoby. Did you submit?
Yes, I did. Excuse me, my voice is gone, but this was important enough for me to show up. I will keep my comments short. I'm at 5 Tyler Court, Annapolis. So my wife and I started moving to Annapolis in 2020. Ford Brewing was 12 minutes walk away from the house that we currently live in. We decided to live there because of Forward, honestly, and it's 12-minute walk from the house, and we bid on the house. In the 5 years since, we've been a regular there. We bring guests from literally around the world and across the United States there. In the years that I've been there, I don't ever remember them playing music outside to, increase the decibel count out there. They are incredibly wonderful folks in the community. They have hosted my wife doing a charity yoga instruction there. They've just been absolutely incredible. We announced to our parents that our daughter was being born there. Our daughter's first trip outside was at Forward, and in the expanded corporatization of local restaurants in the area, it's essential that the Eastports community and that are locally owned and contributing restaurants that are truly deserve to keep their expanded outdoor dining and prosper, and not just prosper, but contribute into the community, not just maintain. Thank you.
Sir. Shanna Minderline.
Pronunciation was great. Thank you. Hi, I'm Shanna Minderline. I live at 312 Severn. Severn Ave in Annapolis. I did submit written. I wrote something slightly different, but I won't take all of your time. I'm nervous, clearly. I did write something. I'm just trying to be good. Anyway, good evening, Mr. Chair and esteemed members of the Annapolis Board of Appeals. I'll skip the name. I chose Annapolis, Eastport specifically, to be my home 11 years ago. I'm in a unique position that I live less than a block away from Forward, but also work at Forward part-time. And Forward opened the same year as COVID-19 and completely turned our lives around. And they'll never know the mental reprieve that they offered me and a lot of my friends from being open outside, which is what we're here, trying to continue today. Forward's become a staple of Eastport living. It's a perfect gathering place for families, friends, and pet lovers. And that Annapolis has a vibrant restaurant scene and that Forward contributes. Taking away their outdoor, or not taking away, I wrote this earlier, cutting the dining in half would hurt the community employees alike. In the walkable distance of downtown Eastport, we already have a shortage of outdoor communal spaces. Over the past several weeks, I've been asked by several friends and neighbors what they can do to help, and a lot are here right now.
That's a minute.
All right, perfect, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Aaron McCready.
Did you say Aaron McCready?
I did.
My name is Aaron McCready. I live at 17 North Cherry Grove Avenue in Ward 2. And I did submit public testimony.
1 minute.
Forward is a beloved business by many thousands of Annapolitans. The new mayor, Jared Littman, ran on a platform of customer service. The city continues to bully this local small business, beloved by thousands of Annapolitans. This hearing is an example of the exact opposite of the motto of customer service. Forward should be busy running their business, not fighting with the city. I want to address the staff report. Noise, there was zero evidence that they've committed noise violations in the staff report. Property values, they claim the property values have diminished. The property behind Forward sold for $785,000, which was $1,100 per square foot, consistent with other high property values. Parking, we shouldn't damage the small business because of parking issues that the city has failed to address in Annapolis. I used to rent property, office space in the city marina, which is a block from Forward, which is empty at 5. There's plenty of parking in Eastport. I strongly encourage the board to extend and allow Forward to have the seats that they request.
Thank you, sir. Jeremiah Olson. Jessica Packler. I think I read your comments, didn't I, Ms. Packler?
You did read my comments, but I'm not going to be reading those. I'm doing different public testimony per your request. My name is Jessica Packler, and I live at 506 President Street. I have lived in Eastport since 1998, and I have been incredibly involved in all aspects of our community, from our neighborhood, from our Eastport Forum, from our elementary school, and Forward brings to Eastport the community that we all moved here for. Everyone moves to a place like Eastport because they want to live in a small town. I am well aware that there's a small group of people who choose to live in the heart of a small urban mixed-use neighborhood like Eastport and then complain that they don't have access to parking or perhaps there are noise issues. However, as has been stated repeatedly tonight, there were no citations for noise. A person complaining about noise in a staff report is different than an actual citation for noise, and that person sold their house and moved after also complaining about the noise that came from the elementary school across the street that they bought the house that had been there for 150 years. I have, for the last 12 years, run the parking at Eastport Elementary for the boat show parking, ostensibly the busiest time for parking in Eastport. Every year since the end of COVID, I have kept the parking lot open on my own time on Friday and Saturday nights in sailboat and powerboat parking until 10 p.m. to see how many parking spots were needed in Eastport. I have had 3 cars total during that time. I do not advertise price. It is open, so nobody knows what I'm charging, so there's no, well, we're not coming in there because there's $10. For 4 years, we have had 3 spots needed. Forward Brewing is a benefit to the whole of Eastport, and basing a number of seats, like 45, on arbitrary ratios, the reason that there are not more outdoor seats at restaurants is because Annapolis has historically been opposed to having outdoor dining. We should be looking, you should be looking, planning and zoning should be looking to the future, to a city of the future where we have pedestrians and biking and outdoor dining and more outdoor dining and less indoor dining and more community and more creation
Thank
of
you.
what we all moved to
Your
Eastport
time
for.
is up.
Thank you.
Shannon Parker. Tanya Presser. Oh, we have Shannon Parker, do we?
Parker? Go ahead.
Don't confuse me.
All right. Hi there, I'm Shannon Parker. I reside at 129 Boyd Drive. I'd like to speak to how much Forward, and specifically its outdoor seating, means to the greater Annapolis community. Forward provides an invaluable third space in a town that is woefully lacking in those kind of spaces. It's a place where people can come together as a community to share ideas and meet together in a welcoming, comfortable, and most importantly, outdoor area where we can feel the sun on our faces, breathe in the air together, kids can play, and even our dogs can socialize. Forward has been providing our community with carefully crafted beer and thoughtfully sourced sustainable food, but it's the spirit of community and inclusion that Forward gives its customers that is sustaining us most of all. Thanks to their outdoor space, we've attended school functions, book clubs, art shows, and alumni gatherings. I've come to fundraisers there for our city's public libraries and for Chase Brexton's healthcare. These have been seated, organized community meetings, and in this space, I've learned more, engaged more, and been a better member of my community. Forward might be small, but their local impact is big and it matters, and I hope for the sake of all of us that we're able to carve out this space. Thank you, Forward, for giving us this home away from home, and I hope it can stay that way.
Thank you. Tanya Presser.
Hi, my name is Tanya Presser. I live at 417 4th Street, across the street from Forward. I'm one of 2 owners of a duplex. Since purchasing our homes in 2022, I am a full-time.
Comments.
Okay, what's that?
You submitted comments.
Yes, and I'm not going to read all of them, but I wanted to share some. Since purchasing our homes in 2022, we've seen the addition of a restaurant, Adams, and also expansion of parking for our seating for Boatyard. Both of those do provide some parking on their site to alleviate some of the parking issues. Forward's proposing extended indoor and outdoor seating, as I understand, removing, and that hasn't been addressed tonight. I take no issue with Forward. Cam and I had a lovely conversation yesterday. I know there's a lot of supporters here, and I think a lot of them have been misinformed, as you had mentioned, that they would be losing their outdoor seating, which they're not. I know that Cam said that they're going to reduce their request or have to 77 outdoor seats, so, and they're expanding their indoor seats. So even so, if a lot of people bike, Uber, otherwise, there's still 50 additional people that would be at least 8 to 10 more cars that are vying for the 30 spots on our street. Between Chesapeake and Severn, there's 30 spaces. I've taken multiple videos during the month of January, which is the slowest month, and while Boatyard has their parking open, and it's been full, and it's 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. It's the slowest month of the year. I couldn't find parking when I came home today at 1:30 from work. So it is a problem. People don't want to say it's a problem. It's a problem.
There's no one who hasn't been frustrated trying to park in Eastport, but
yeah,
we get the point.
Okay. So I would ask that just address the parking challenges. I have no issue with Forward. I think it's a lovely place. I've been there many times. I have no issue with the owners or the patrons. I've never had any noise issues. I've only had one drunk person in my front yard. I don't know which bar he was from. He left me a nice apology note the next morning in my mailbox. So I just would like for the parking to be addressed on our street in some way. I mean, there are people we know the same cars from Boatyard that are workers that pull up at 7:30 in the morning and stay there for 12 hours. They stay their entire shift, and it's never addressed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Reichart.
Good evening. I'm Bill Reichart. I live at 717 Bay Ridge Avenue. I did submit a written report.
So 1 minute, please, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to get right to it. The question for you is how many seats, and in the context of alleged nuisance or primarily noise. I suggest you have 2 areas of evidence that should lead you to the answer in that area. First, you have the city's report. If you look at the city's report carefully, and I suggest to you it's flawed, they say, first of all, the most meaningful way to address the impact of outdoor dining, talking previously about nuisance and noise, is to address the number of seats. That's their conclusion. Their Exhibit A, which is a listing of ratios from indoor to outdoor of 17 different restaurants, which are not named, does not lead you anywhere in terms of noise. It's not related.
Sorry, that's your minute.
Pardon me?
Your minute is up.
Okay, finally, I'm going to end with this. The second realm of the evidence that does lead you circumstantially to the answer is the fact for 3 years, with enforcement, presumably by planning and zoning, there's not been a single violation for noise. That is significant. It is direct, it is pertinent, and it is more powerful circumstantial evidence, and I suggest you look at that primarily. Thank you.
Thank you. Julia Schindler.
Hi, good evening. I'm Julia Schindler. I live at 415 Duval Lane in Annapolis. I did submit online, so I'll try to read part of it. But just wanted to echo what a lot of my community members have said today, that I know you had indicated that we were not talking about completely eliminating their outdoor dining or like having them not being able to continue their business, but I think by cutting back their outdoor dining to a 45 seat is doing just that. As several other people have said, there's not a lot of outdoor seating in Annapolis or Eastport. You go to places like Charlottesville, you go to places like Charleston, those are welcoming outdoor focused areas that have plenty of seating like that. And that's what they created at Forward. They started the business in the depths of COVID-19, and they kept that business running with that outdoor seating area that created that community space. There isn't a season that my husband and I haven't sat outside at Forward. Winter, spring, fall, summer, they create an environment that is welcoming to everybody. The last thing I want to say is that these are local people. They live in my neighborhood. I was a little bit starstruck when I first found out that, but they are the nicest people. They've created a local business that contributes to their community, which is far more than any of these Atlas-owned businesses could ever do. And I think it's time that Annapolis put their money where their mouth is and helped our locally owned, locally run businesses thrive.
Madison Shanahan. Vicky Shoemaker.
Hi, I'm Vicki Shoemaker. I live at 135 Dewey. I did submit comments, and I've got 1 minute. I just want to voice my support for Forward. I am one of those young families that bring my children there and really need those outdoor seats. My kids really do well sitting outside, feeling the sun, and having those seats available is invaluable to me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Skelly.
Good evening. I did submit written comments, and I won't repeat those here, but my name's Peter Skelly. I own 419 4th Street, directly across from Forward Brewing. I've owned that building since 2018, and I've watched this business grow and prosper. And I have a lot of respect for Cam and Claire and the job that they've done creating their business, creating a special place for Eastport and Annapolitans and those outside of Annapolis who visit our community to gather together and have share great times. Forward is a special place. To reduce its capacity from what it's been and how it's run successfully to less than 50% would be, in my opinion, a huge mistake. I urge the board to approve Forward's application with the number of seats requested, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anastasia Sold.
Hello, my name is Anastasia Zold. I live at 98 Monticello Avenue in downtown Annapolis. I did submit comments, but it was a quick paragraph, so I have a few more notes here. So the most important thing that I want to address is the fact that Forward's outdoor space has really been a huge part of the neighborhood. It's a place where people can bring their pets, where people like me can bring their families and enjoy outdoor space together. The kids can play safely outside, you know, in the rocks under your feet where you're sitting, and they don't have to worry about, like, we don't have to worry about them running into the street and getting hit by a car, because it's such a nice spot where you can bring our families and make sure that they can spend time outside with us. We can meet our neighbors there and have meaningful conversations with them. And since I live downtown, I often walk to Forward or take the water taxi. We almost never drive there, and when we do, parking has never been an issue for us. To address the noise issue, I've been there so many times, and the space is lovely, but lively, but respectful. There's never music playing, and there's never loud conversations or arguing or fights. It's always just chatter, just the normal noise of a neighborhood having a conversation.
That's a minute.
Okay, and last thing is Forward is a small locally owned business run by people who live in the neighborhood, who live right here. They're trying to create a community. They're trying to raise their family here, and they provide a lot to the community and the neighborhood. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patrice Teeter Moran.
Teeter Moran, but that's
Teeter Moran.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Patrice Teeter Moran. I did submit testimony online, so I will keep it to 1 minute.
Thank you.
So for the folks that are here that are complaining about the noise, I hear you. My house is across the street from our community pool. Every summer Saturday at 7:30 a.m. on the dot, I'm awoken by the national anthem. And then I am led into 3.5 hours of techno music, followed by pleas for people to come and purchase a hot dog and the countdown of how many tacos in a bag are still available. So I get you. But here's the thing. We all live in community spaces. Unless you live on a castle on a hill, Community is built into this cake. We have to learn to speak to each other, and Cam and Claire are shining examples of that. They open their hearts up, they open their businesses up, they support the three key elements that I think are Annapolis: the Chesapeake Bay, our culture of sailing, and our diversity, and they welcome it. Please consider that when you look at all of the evidence and the people that are speaking out about the fact that it gets loud. I hear you that it gets loud, but I would rather have loud than silence. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Tahira?
Hi, good evening. I'm Nicole Texera. I'm a resident of 3386 Arundel on the Bay Road, former resident of 4th Street. I did submit written testament, but I will cut to the chase with my opening line. Please consider granting forward its request for 77 outdoor seats in order to sustain this robust small business and community partner, as we're hearing over and over again tonight. My husband and I have been supporters and patrons of Forward since its inception. It has strengthened our friendships and involvement in this community thanks to the open and welcome environment, as well as its flexible dining environment. Its largely available seating allows our family to gather comfortably with our child and others in the community without long waits or the need to navigate crowded indoor spaces. It is welcoming, accessible, and it's paired with considerate and compliant ownership, as well as patrons who frequent it on a regular basis. And it's why we return to Forward and subsequently the businesses in the Eastport Peninsula again and again. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Jackie Wells? Oh, Ms. Wells, I don't like that look of all those papers.
Oh, no, don't worry. This is the staff report that I just brought with me. My name is Jackie Wells.
You did submit comments, I believe.
I did submit comments. I live at 201 Severn Avenue in Eastport. I will address only the comments that I am making since the filing of a revised plan by the applicant, because you've already read my comments before. I appreciate the analysis and the work done by Planning and Zoning to apply the city code to Forward Brewing's application for a special application, and I support its staff report. I also appreciate that Forward Brewing has listened to some of the comments previously submitted and has submitted a revised plan. I do not support a ratio of 77 seats outside compared to 45 seats inside, given the layout of the parking lot and building and the outside cafe area, which should be subordinate to the inside seating. As half German, I've spent 65 plus years in Germany, and I've been to many beer gardens. They're seated, serving food, and they're not surrounded by residential houses. I can support Planning and Zoning's proposal of 45 seats inside and 45 seats outside. I support the proposal to move the outside seating forward towards 4th Street and using low tops situated closer together. I believe that with fewer outside seats, the single disabled parking spot should be retained.
Wrap it up, please.
And I support the wooden privacy fence across the back, as well as the fewer seats outside and proposed changes in operations to control entry and crowding. The proposed changes, I think, are acceptable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Caitlin Worthington.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Worthington, 822 Southern Hills Drive, Arnold, and yes, I submitted online, and I will be brief. I am the head of a meetup group called Lesbians of the Chesapeake. I have hosted over 20 events at Forward, and the owners and everyone that works there has been more than welcoming and open to us. Sorry, emotional. This is one of the few places that I feel safe.
This
that-
is what you said in your comments, I believe.
Yes, and I'm going to say it now. Thank you so much for reminding me. This sense of belonging in this world, okay, is rare and deeply valued. I'm the one that had the third space comment. Without the outdoor space, with closing it down, we haven't been able to meet there. And on the same night, you can have a full trivia group inside, the running club coming back, and my Lesbians of the Chesapeake group, which, let me tell you, I have people coming from Baltimore, DC, Arlington, and St. Mary's County. And if you talk to the city of Annapolis, I believe that that's what they're looking for, is to have a more diverse group of people coming from all over. I'm also a member of the board of Annapolis Pride, and the chair of the board has asked me to note, Forward Brewing's steadfast and ongoing support of the LGBTQIA+ community. Forward Brewing has consistently demonstrated its commitment through inclusive practices, community partnerships, and visible advocacy, making them a valued, trusted supporter of Annapolis Pride and the broader LGBTQIA+ community. We don't have a lot of places to go.
Your time.
I hope that you'll consider the real impact that Forward Brewing has and allow this space to continue serving the people who rely on it, which nowhere near the amount of people are here tonight that rely on it. And that is worth protecting. Parking concerns should not outweigh the significance that this space provides. And I can tell you too, if there was a noise complaint, the people that work there would definitely come out and be like, whoa, like tone it down. So we only go to places that are respectful. This sounds like a rowdy bunch in here, I don't know. But this is a rare and valued place, and please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Dales, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I have to commend the board for reading all of the written testimony, and to those who came out to speak tonight, Sports Council, very much appreciate all the passionate oral testimony tonight. My job here in closing to be clear about a couple of the points raised in the public testimony and then provide a brief closing. For the 2 points of clarification, I'd like Mr. Beaudry to speak to the actual, we've already put into the record there have been no violations found relating to noise and no citations issued. The 3 rear properties, which are residential, have seen some change in ownership. So, Mr. Beaudry, could you please tell the board about the change in the ownership of the 3 properties to the rear, and then with the current owners there, whether you have received any complaints unofficially about noise? Thank you.
The 3 properties behind us, the one that is to probably the north would be, they've been there since we've opened and before, and we've never heard any complaints about noise. The property next to them that's directly behind Forward changed hands a few years ago, and the house has been renovated, but still kept a small cottage, and we've actually received supportive comments from them in testimony, and they've never complained anything about noise. And then the property next to them on 5th Street changed hands a few years ago, and we've never heard anything from that new ownership.
So in summary, no noise complaints from the 3 neighbors to the rear, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, one quick point of clarification on the actual parking standard that's part of the special exceptions criteria, 2126050. That's G to C, I think. Mr. Beaudry, just for the board, you do provide off-street parking for your staff, management, and brewing staff?
We do have parking. It's moved in the past few years, but we do have off-street parking.
So in addition to the study done to show the lower vehicular use, that was something you've done to reduce the parking demand created by Forward, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, just now a brief closing. I have to restate the special exception standard that makes all of these criteria that you're looking at relative to the other properties in the area. Would this use fail these criteria because of its location as compared to those other locations? And with a recent approval very nearby for the same number of seats, I ask you to please keep that in mind as you apply these criteria. There's been no evidence stated in testimony about noise. There's no evidence cited in the staff report regarding problems with noise. The allusions to the suggestions that there have been or could be noise problems, the fear that there would be before the use came into place, are outweighed by the many people here, the testimony of Mr. Bodrin and others who have stated they have experienced no problems with noise. So as you look at the record, I would suggest you the overwhelming weight of evidence would say that there is not a problem with the use that has been there regarding noise, and that the reduced number of seats, new policy, and other changes Mr. Bodrin has proposed as conditions will ensure that continues to be the case. And the same applies to compatibility with the neighborhood. The standards for having patrons be seated and have alcohol with food, I contest, relate to that goal, that the use be compatible with the neighborhood surrounding it. And Mr. Bodrin has stated how the changes he's proposed will make sure that that is the case. But again, there's no evidence that he has failed in any way in the years he's operated so far to be compatible with his neighborhood, or that in those specific ways there has been any failure of the criteria. I also have to say that there's no indication the City Council intended that you apply these rules when you think about the number of seats for purposes of parking, traffic, neighborhood compliance, or noise, with proportionality to the indoor number of seats. If that was what they intended, it would favor existing large restaurants that have high numbers of inside seats that would overall be able to create a relatively large number of outside seats with the attendant parking impact, traffic impact, which would be larger in an absolute sense. So a small indoor space was not intended to be less able to take advantage of these permissions than an existing large indoor space. And I think the other reason that you don't see that in the City Council's law is that it would be arbitrary. It doesn't have a direct relationship to the impact on the community as stated in the standards you're applying. So please consider the overall impact of what Ford's proposing, and it is a very small restaurant relative to its neighbors, even with its original application, and especially with its proposal to reduce the seats to 77, condense them, use less than a half of its lot, and to accommodate the suggestions of city staff for an ADA parking space and other changes for operations to be compliant or consistent with the surrounding community. The conditions in the staff report that relate to those needs to make sure that there is compliance with noise requirements, neighborhood compatibility, those are acceptable, and we've agreed to them in our revisions. If the board ends up having other suggestions that are derived from those proposals in the staff report, or for our proposed compromise position, we'll be here to answer questions and to consider those conditions and indicate our ability to comply with them. So with that, I would ask that this board please approve the outdoor dining special exception, and that's all we're talking about tonight, for the 77 seats, which are less than the number of seats that have been successfully operated for so many years. So thank you.
Okay, we have some time for questions from the board. Go ahead, Christian.
So it's been established that any number of seats above the 40 requires all the parking to be taken out, which would impose the city's fee for parking. So surely you know what your monthly cost would be, whether it's 10 seats or 77 seats. That's minimum, right? What would you be paying the city
for the transportation fee?
Yeah.
So I think it's $160 per parking space and
per month.
Per month, and we currently have. I'm sorry.
Times the 8 that you owe.
So 8 or 5, yes.
Which would it be, 8 or 5?
It would be 8.
8. Okay. Phil, you doing the math over there?
Making notes.
It's about $15,000 a year. I've done the math for you.
Right.
That's where you established your minimum relief or your minimum request, I'm assuming, right? The $15,000 is what you would be paying into the city's transportation fund, parking fund, whether you get 40 seats or 77 seats, right? So this becomes, every seat functionally has to be twice as effective, twice as efficient to make it worth your time, is what I'm getting at. I did a little math. There were over 77 people in here when we started this evening. And the area that you're proposing is twice as big as this room. So you have about 20 square feet per person for your proposed parking lot. Right? Does that feel right? Does that feel big?
I think what you're saying, it does.
What do you do what if we do if we say you only get to 40? Do you shrink it again? Because I don't know that you want to operate with 40 square feet per person that feels empty. Doesn't have an intimacy
Right.
that you're, right?
I think I understand what you're asking.
Does your proposed ask align with an operator's ideal ratio of area to patronage?
Yes, I think it does. And, it leaves, in our revised plan, we compacted the seats a little bit. So essentially on either side of the drive aisle, we have tables with a walking space in between for customers and servers. I think, particularly looking at the drawings and looking at what we've done, that it feels like it is the right density, if that answers the question.
It does. I have more for deliberation, but that was the question I had.
Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, just if I could ask Kim, obviously within the criteria, one factor is safety. I know the revision was submitted by the applicant through Mr. Dales. We run these through the city departments to see what their feedback might be. Was there an opportunity to do that at all? I think specifically of fire, police, emergency services.
Typically, police doesn't look at an application like this. We did have the fire department look at the initial one, and they did not have an issue with it. So with it shrinking, they would not have an issue with it.
So presumably, I see in one of the conditions you have in your original report that before a occupancy and operational permit can become effective, that the city fire department would have to inspect and make sure it complies with.
Right, and if they have any sort of temporary tents or anything like that,
Yes,
that
yeah.
is what the fire department also inspects.
The reason I ask that is because of the change in tables in terms of how movable they are. And also, and I applaud Mr. Bowden for coming up with a more manageable way to deal with the patron traffic flow. But I didn't know if that'll be something that'll be looked at by the fire department to ensure that they can get equipment in there if necessary.
Yes.
These now screenings that are.
Yeah, they didn't have an issue with that initially, but once the permit for the structures comes in, they will also look at that.
Right.
Anything else, Michael?
Yeah, I just want to, Mr. Dales, just so we're clear, you agree with the city's interpretation that the definition of dining is as it is, that patrons are to consume food and beverages sitting. Is that correct?
Mr. Walsh, I do agree generally. I will say I've had this conversation quite a few times over the last several weeks, and it seems everyone thinks that the requirement's very clear, but then everyone thinks it means something different. I would say I do agree that the intent is, and that's what matters, the intent is for people to generally be seated when they're drinking and to have food when they drink. In practicality, I think it's fair for the board to consider any operation of any restaurant you've been to where that requirement exists, you're going to be approached by a server who offers you your drinks while you consider your order for food. And at some moment during that time there, you're likely, so I do agree that the intent.
It's a sequence issue.
Correct.
I understand that.
And I think the best way to comply with the requirement that people be seated generally is for the restaurant to have a policy to tell their customers, we expect you to be generally seated while you're drinking. So if you get up, go anywhere, leave your food and drinks on the table. It's very difficult to enforce, but that is the best way to, in my opinion, comply with the intent of the law.
Agreed, but it's not the purview of this board to determine that.
Understood, but I think that is compliance as I see it with the law. I don't think that the law from the conversations I've had with government and elected officials, if the law is interpreted overly literally, it is not the intent of the council. And if it's not applied in some rational way, then it would fail the intent of the council. So I generally agree, yes.
The only other issue I have is I can tell you in our deliberations, an issue that will be one is one that you've highlighted, one that you brought up in your testimony along with your architect, which is handicap access and a designated handicap parking space, as well as handicap access to the building. Again, I've heard a great deal of testimony, worthy testimony, valid testimony about, that you've done a great job of inviting the community in, celebrating diversity in the community, making it a place for community gathering, what have you. And of course, I believe that's true, as well as with those who have mobility issues, handicap, our veterans, those people. So I would like to at least let you know that that's something that I will be emphasizing as we deliberate.
I understand that. I feel like we are absolutely supportive of making this space accessible. And I think our building is accessible as it has been. I've seen plenty of people move through our space with handicap issues. And we are, I think the only reason that we don't show the handicap parking space is because the application allows for 100% waiver from parking standards.
Yeah.
So.
And Mr. Walsh, I should add some context in my advising my client on this.
I was going to ask you about that, Phil. Are your contention?
Well, I think that
I was worried about your logic being employed.
I'll start with saying why we even addressed the issue. I think Kim wants to provide the ADA space, and I've encouraged him to do it just to protect his interest. The concern was that there would be an engineering issue, that the space would not be able to be located in a place that allowed for this application at all. That would essentially kill the application. And so instead, the first step was, does the law actually require there be one in the existing parking lot? And if the answer to that is no, well, even whatever the answer is to that, what we saw was a solution that did not eliminate the possibility of having outdoor dining by requiring drive aisles into the site, et cetera. And there are two. There's one that the city has indicated some support for, if not a decision, that the public street space could be striped and designated as an ADA space, or that a space might be able to be located as suggested in the, as similarly suggested in the standard about removing and eliminating your parking, that you would dedicate a space at the entrance to an ADA space right at the apron where you would move into Forward's parking lot from the street. That location would not preclude the use of the site in the parking lot for outdoor dining.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Chen?
Kim, so on the number of seats, in the staff report, you talked about that there is an application in front of the Planning Commission.
There is an application in currently with the city for Forward to relocate their brewery and add additional seating inside. That will go to the Planning Commission, but it is not there yet.
Oh, okay.
They have submitted their application, we have made comments, and it has not come back in yet.
Oh, so that's interesting. So they're going to relocate the brewery? Is that what's happening, so you can accommodate more seats inside?
Yes, we're relocating some of the brewing equipment to another space outside of the city, partially just for production. Of course, Eastport and Annapolis is a limiting space, and things come in, things go out, and we have been brewing in basically a two-car garage for a long time. Our fermenters are stacked. We use ladders. We now have a scissor lift, but we could use more space. We have a canning line that fits underneath of our stairs and does one can at a time. So we're moving our equipment for primarily production purposes. But if we, are looking for additional seats inside, which I think there's an important difference between indoor seats and outdoor seats. Indoor seats are not weather dependent, as we were discussing earlier. If we reduce to 40 seats or 45 seats, then, we are spreading out the costs over a smaller number of seats. But those seats are less reliable because they're outside, in a sense. So we are looking for more space indoors, and particularly during the winter. During the winter months when we don't have outdoor dining, we are not a profitable business. So we are looking for indoor seats, and that makes the most sense since it's already under roof.
So you're not a profitable business. Say that again.
During those months when we don't have outdoor dining.
So you lose money presently with the number of seats you have.
Right, and we maintain our staff and all of our accounts, yes.
Okay. Do you have any other sources of revenue? I know your beer is very popular, and that people can buy your beer. Is that correct?
Yes. So we do sell it from forward. People can take it away, in a sense. And we also make beer off-site currently, and that is sold in stores.
And so your original business plan was 28 seats because you had the manufacturing like you do now on top. So presumably you thought you could survive with 28 seats. Why now are you losing money?
Correct. So I think I can answer that by saying that we never actually got to experience that 28-seat model, the proposed 28 seats in the way that we planned, because COVID happened. Initially we were just selling to go out the window, and then outdoor dining became a thing, and then outdoor dining became our identity. And so just like Galway Bay is busier on rainy days, on a rainy day, no one thinks of forward, in a sense, or fewer people think of forward. I think we have become synonymous with outdoor dining, so when it's not available, it has an impact.
So my idea of outdoor dining is that you sit down at a table and you eat. To me, that's outdoor dining. I know from my experience, I live in Eastport, and I've been to Forward Brewing. Somebody said, have you ever been to Forward Brewing? Of course I've been there. I have seen that driveway packed to the gills with people standing, drinking beer. I understand that there are no citations.
But they've agreed to a condition that would stop that.
Okay. I just, for my own comfort level, I need to get some kind of assurance from you, looking at me in the eyes, that you will follow the code, that you will follow the conditions, that if this board places any, that you will do that.
Yes, and I think it's important to note that we only recently have a code for outdoor dining. It is a new code, and we are changing our operations or adjusting them to fit that new code and its new requirements. So yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anything else, Doc?
No.
Thank you. My question, Kim, is for you. You said that the 45-seat limit that's applied to the outside is formed by applying the ratio of indoor seats to outdoor. But when I reviewed Ordinance 1024, which is a 24-page document, the words ratio only appear in relation to wine sales. And so I'm trying to understand the impetus for the application of this ratio.
It was just one of the mechanisms that when we were, it was, when the plan came in with 97 seats, we just, because we review these as a whole staff, it was too much. Where can we base our number? Where do we start? And it was, let's see all throughout the city in all different aspects what the ratios are, just to get a feel for what is happening in the city.
Sure, and I totally agree. You know, we need to start at least start at a place of objective analysis. To me, the popularity of Forward Brewing is entirely unimportant. The clapping and support for the brewery is unimportant. What is important is the application of the ordinance. And when the ordinance does not include mention of ratio to indoor-outdoor, then to me that argument seems to lack, or not argument, but the starting position, which is, as you acknowledge, this is what it is, it's a starting position. There's a certain degree of it lacks a legal sufficiency. And so I'm more inclined to grant discretion to the applicant rather than to the government in the application of a ratio that just wasn't part of the initial ordinance. In the staff report, the government also states that it can't, paraphrasing, can't really say the project will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment. But I just want to clarify with the code enforcement officer here, how many, at least if I can ask, how many noise-related code cases have actually been opened against Forward Brewing?
Zoning doesn't really enforce the noise ordinance. That is enforced by the police department. Sure. And by property maintenance. So I can't say that I've personally done a zoning enforcement against the noise level. Of course, our code says that under the zoning that you shouldn't disturb the peace and quiet of the neighborhood, but we don't actually have like a decibel meeting on that. That's regulated by the police and by under Chapter 17 and Chapter 12 of the code. I have no authority to enforce that. I can only do 21, and there's some other, like 7.
Sure,
that I can
no,
enforce.
Understood. I guess my point is that, of course, enforcement is done through Annapolis Police Department and building inspectors, but the fact is, over the course of a 5-year operating history, there does not seem to be a pattern of noise-related complaints specifically related to the use.
Not, there has been some. One was stated that the neighbor had moved, and then I'm not sure where the other complaints have gone through. I didn't enforce those, so I can't say who it came from or what actions were taken upon that. I have knowledge of it, but that it has been complained about, but it's not something that I have personally enforced. My enforcement that I have done with the property has been with the seating situation. Whenever they did their variance to make sure that they were required to put in bicycle racks. I met with Cam on site because we needed to get that done, and I think also maybe there was like an Uber sign or something. I can't quite remember. It's been a little time. So in that way, I have, there was reference to where you met and talked with John Manassa about standing. That was done by one of the property maintenance inspectors. So my personal code cases have been the recent one, and then one whenever we received the complaint that some of the things on the variance application were completed.
Yeah, and I guess I think that's, again, relying more on objectivity. The house that sold due to that reason, I just don't have justifiable basis to know if that is actually the reason why it was sold. And so that, again, is where I take issue a little bit with the government's characterization. I think the government got it exactly right when we were talking about Boatyard. And it's summarizing, but essentially Kim testified that, we need not imagine. We've done this for 5 years. This is just more the formalization. And so in this case, I also think we need not predict. I think the impacts have been well observed, and again, just relying on the sheer objectivity of code cases, I just don't see how the government got exactly to the point where we cannot make a reasonable determination of injurious nature to the surrounding area. So
That's more deliberation. I think.
Sure.
Mr. Remsen, if I could add a statement responsive to your question, the issue you've raised in your question. I think the other subject that we didn't get to speak to, other than a question from the chairman, was the hours of operation. So there have been no noise violations, but we've also testified that the hours of operation for outdoor dining will be limited and less than allowed by the ordinance, precisely to reduce any chance of having those kind of. And then I also just wanted to state that the statement from the city that the original application was too much. I think the question the board has to ask is too much by what criteria?
Right, we understand.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I just have, I think, 2 questions. Kim, can you tell us anything more about the noise complaints that you're aware of?
We just like Lisa, I remember them being noise complaints, but they were handled by somebody else.
Okay.
And there were written comments about them that were submitted.
And even some of the commenters in favor of the application said, we recognize their noise issues, but we think that the majority should.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Bodrin, you have applied for increased seating indoors?
Yes.
Is that correct? And have you been seating more than 28 people indoors while you're applying for the expansion?
In the brewing area?
Anywhere
no.
indoors?
We have 28 stools.
And so you have not been seating any more than 28 people?
Correct.
Okay. Is that consistent with what we know at Planning and Zoning?
I believe somewhere in a reply from Mr. Dales, he talks about 34 seats currently.
About how many?
34.
Yeah, I thought so.
That could have included the outdoors. We have 28 seats inside, and we've applied for additional seats in the area where the brewing tanks are, and that application is subject to changes, revisions. It's not before the board tonight, but we have 28 inside, and how many are outside?
77.
No, I'm sorry, on the porch.
No, 6.
6, so 28 and then 6, and those are all subject to or pursuant to the approvals or in accordance with the approvals. That's how many we have.
Okay. All right, we're done with questions. We'll close the record, mark the exhibits, and deliberations. If you'll, with your permission, I'll take the first crack at this one. First of all, I think the main issues are parking and noise, but there are some conditions that I think we all agree that we want in there. And one of them, I think, because of what I've read in the submissions about the long negotiations over compliance, over parking and ADA, that whatever number of seats we decide to approve, no use and occupancy will issue until the director determines that there's been compliance with the original variance, there's been compliance with the parking rules for employees and everybody else, and there's been compliance with the ADA rules for parking and bathrooms. I think we also want definitely the condition about seating, no drinking unless you're seated and eating, I think that's going to make a big difference on noise. We'll put our standard enforcement condition in, and we'll put in a time limit for closing that will help with the noise. So then we get to parking and noise. Let me start with parking. I think you got a flavor of where I was going from earlier. The city code has detailed rules on how much parking each kind of business has. And then at the same time, they authorize planning and zoning to issue waivers. And every administration I can remember has been generous in issuing waivers. The few efforts that there have been, particularly by residents of Eastport, to try to get preferential residential parking have died. At least 2 sitting members of the council filed comments in favor of this, notwithstanding the parking issues. And they can't, no matter what we did, they can't park cars while people are sitting back there, and people are going to be sitting back there. So I think there's no condition on parking. That brings us to noise. One of the commenters perceptively said, the planning and zoning's determination there should be 45 is completely arbitrary. Well, it is. And so is 77. There's no scientific basis behind either one of them. Nobody knows how many people are going to make enough noise to disturb the character of the neighborhood. So my suggestion for noise would be to approve 45 seats and give the director discretion after a period of 60 days of experience to increase that number by 25%, and after another 60 days by another 25%, up to a limit of 77. And the director's decision to permit those increases would be based on compliance with all the rules, all the conditions contained in the special exception, and some reasonable effort to investigate noise complaints. There's been this frustration as long as I've been involved with this board. Somebody calls with a noise complaint, planning and zoning send them to the police say, we don't have a decibel meter. You've got to figure out some way to make an assessment of whether the noise is going to disturb the character of the neighborhood. So my suggestion is we put it back on you. So that's where I am. Any thoughts?
Much like the 45 to 77, it's a starting point, right? You're 60 days, and I think I worry that it's proving a negative, proving that they didn't make noise. Like somebody complains, there's going to be a record of this transient thing that vanishes like a steam. And I'm troubled by the fact that there are 4 or 5 years of continuous operation, which this business operator has turned into his brand. Like the city has given him, and he's developed a brand around what was given, and now it's taking it back arbitrarily, right? So this is his business model. He doesn't have a chance to go back and start from December of 2020 and go, my business model is based on X, and then foster that, right? So now they're taking away 35 or 37 or however many number of seats there are, rather arbitrarily, without evidence of the formally documented noise complaints, and yet reducing the number of seats from peak, taking away the high top cocktail tables, committing under testimony that there will be enforcement of the rules, putting in low seats, and I know, and I've been there, and I do take issue with suggesting that none of us have been there. We've all been there. We do know that the dynamics of an outdoor environment with high tops changes measurably, demonstrably, when you go to a four-top with low seats. It becomes a restaurant and not a cocktail bar. That's what happens physically, mentally, and spiritually. I'm a restaurant operator, so I know these things. So I'd be inclined to, I appreciate, I'm not going to, if the board just finds wisdom in your suggestion, I will not be the lone vote against it. But standing here independently, I would be inclined to give the 77 and add teeth to our enforcement and conditions.
I mean, the reason I didn't do that is because once we set the number, it's too hard to take it back. If you start with a base and let them work up from there, they can get back to 77 in 6 months.
I worry that it makes more homework and more resources on the staff.
But that's what we need.
I know we need it. I know but I don't know how they do. Does it auto increase in the absence of complaints?
No, that the applicant has to apply and the director has to determine that there's been
I'm not comfortable with that part. I'd be comfortable with some mechanism
you just want to pick a number.
I think the program should be mapped out. It says on this date, in the absence of complaints and hearings and trials and all the other nonsense, it moves to this amount.
I think, Christian, part of the problem is in terms of taking away your comment about what they have now and taking it away. The layout of this driveway was beer barrels,
sure,
like the original picture showed, along one side, and then this open space where patrons would pour out and stand there with their beers. At least that's what I saw. So it's hard to understand and quantitate what it is that we're taking away from them, because they never really had it. They never really had, like Boatyard.
That is a fair, but what we're saying is, I envisioned when the city council said, we're going to codify this outdoor dining as a legitimate option, and you're going to pay this money and you'll go get your special exception. All you people who have had success with it, all you operators who had success with it for the last 5 years, here's your chance to codify that experience. Do it legally for now and then into infinitum. I don't think the city thought, and I'm guessing entirely, do a different, come back with half, right? If it was success, use less than, right?
No, I think the council said, as these applications come in, figure out where some people have had too many seats and where some people could have more.
So where's the evidence that they had too many?
The noise complaints.
I mean, I think they're attempting to address.
Quiet, please, or we'll ask to clear the room.
Now, I agree with Christian that I've listened to several questions about what were the actual noise complaints, and I've not really gotten a satisfying answer to it so far.
There are quite a few in the written comments.
Yeah, but were they ultimately followed through? Were they enforced? Were they? you know.
Well, I mean, we know how people get a runaround when they say, I've got a.
Yeah, we know enforcement is under the past
I
mayor.
just don't think that what's being proposed is going to make it any more clear or any more, anything that's going to be an objective criteria that's going to make them run through 2 more hoops to get to ultimately where they are now. The testimony that I heard that impacted me was, you know, as Kristen said, they've had 5 years to run under this model. And in fact, they did it with 93, 92 seats, outdoor seats. And it seems to have worked rather well. They've now come in with proposals to ameliorate and fewer seats. I just don't think putting them through another set of sequences.
So what's your number?
My number is, I'd go with 77. I think 93 is too much. I thought 45 was too little. So my number is, if that's what it is, and Chris and
Clint, I think you're there, aren't you?
Yeah, so I am there. I'm supportive of the application as it's been submitted with the mitigations that they've included. But to talk about the phasing element, I can appreciate the creativity of it for sure. My concern though is when we talk about arbitrary, right? Because what's 45, what's 77? These are all numbers. Planning and zoning started us with an objective basis, which I appreciate. But we talk about arbitrary, also have to consider injury to the applicant. I've been an applicant in front of this board, and I've felt my heart palpitate when we deliberate on an arbitrary amount. We're talking about phasing that realistically would go into Commissioning Week, the largest tourism event in state of Maryland. I think would be quite injurious to the applicant. And then I also think there's a certain moral hazard, and you'd hope that no one would do this, but if someone disagrees with Forward or is a competitor of Forward, they can file a report and they're going to be capped at where we started them. And that to me is also concerning. And so, I know the enforcement mechanisms aren't perfect, but I also know that Eastport stands up for itself. I think the residents there are very civically engaged. And if there was an enduring problem, I am pretty sure that we would hear about it. I think, and it would be more than whispers. And right now, it just feels a little bit like whispers. It's not code case. It's not an overwhelming amount of opposition based on those criteria. So I'm inclined to support the application as it's been submitted.
Mr. Chair, I respect the staff of Planning and Zoning. They have criteria that they apply in many different situations, variances, special exceptions, so on. They elected to apply this ratio of indoor and outdoor. I respect that. I don't feel as a board member that I should question that, because Planning and Zoning, the director came to us with this information and this number. So I don't consider it arbitrary. There are criteria that we have made decisions on that, for example, this shed is typical in Eastport. That is a Planning and Zoning determination. So I just wanted to say that I respect that. They're suggesting 45 seats. I would go with their recommendation because they have applied criteria that they think is objective.
Yeah, but the criteria doesn't relate to the level of noise that would harm the neighborhood. It's arbitrary in that respect.
Dr. Chen, my opinion of that is the planning department and staff were put in a position to
Make something up.
start somewhere. They held their nose, they picked a number, they said, let's see where that goes. Maybe 45 sounds like a lot. Hopefully it passes. Maybe the applicant will go good enough, and that will keep the. Yeah. To me, it was doomed to fail from the minute they wrote 45, when they've had 5 years at 90. That's my opinion.
I just wanted to make sure it was clear. I respect the staff report.
To be clear,
I want to say I do support your.
I also do not respect this staff.
Yeah, I also,
but it's clearly
always
a starting
a tremendous
point. It's a starting point. We have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. It's a criteria to start. Kim mentioned that.
I could count
it's a starting
on
point for a
one
deliberation. Her testimony counts just like the applicants, just like the public.
Yeah, I could count on one hand how many times this board has gone not, in line with the staff recommendations. And that's in 16, 17 years of service.
All right, somebody got a motion? Christian?
So this is a negative. What am I doing here? So I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Mr. Chair,
Can
do
you
we
grab
have
it,
a
Clint?
list of conditions?
In addition to the conditions that are in the staff recommendation, we would add the time limits, the closing hours, and the new enforcement condition. We might tweak the standing, sitting condition to make sure it's tight enough. But I think that's the list.
So are we?
And also that there'll be full compliance with that list of compliance questions determined by the director before there's a use and occupancy certificate.
Okay. Are we accepting their redesign?
Yeah.
Or is that?
That's what the motion's going to be.
Can I ask
Okay.
a question, a clarification question? When you say hours of operation, is it their hours, or do you want me to restate the hours that are actually in the ordinance?
The hours that they've offered,
Okay,
yes.
okay. And then just to clarify, when you make your decision, if it's 77 inclusive of the patio seats or excluding?
I don't
The
know.
patio seats are not subject to the application.
Yeah, so this is 77 in the parking lot.
Just clarifying.
Okay.
Oh,
Go ahead. He's chitter-chatting.
they're chit-chatting. And so part of the conditions would also be this privacy fence in the back.
That would be the revised applicant's site plan, I guess is what
That's
that.
in part incorporated in the condition.
Is part of your revised plan that there will be a host or hostess standing there making sure that people are not standing around with beers?
A staff member, yes. Fulfilling that role, yes.
So can we make that a condition?
What?
It's in the site. You're closing off the drive lane in its entirety, and all guests will flow through the, anybody who wants to go to the parking lot has to come through the hostess station.
That's correct. That's proposed in the narrative for the revisions, that there would be an operation by a staff person at that host or hostess stand.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
7? Oh, yeah. So that we changed to 7. Okay. So, motion to approve special exception 20250007-4 with the revision to condition 1, changing back to 77 seats, adopting all the other recommendations in the staff report, including the provisions that was noted by the chairman regarding compliance to date, hours of operations as suggested by the applicant.
Standard enforcement.
Standard enforcement all applies, and a thorough investigation of the handicap parking ADA compliance criteria.
Certified compliance.
Yeah, certified compliance. 77 seats applies to the parking lot and does not reference any other already previously approved seats. Is that it?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Mr. Dales, Mr. Bodrin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and everyone to the public who came out. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, take a shot at it.
Mr. Chair,
He doesn't hear me.
I might have if you didn't just tell me.
This little thing called my bed. It would have been harder if they went with my suggestion.
I've been going to their.
I move to adjourn.
Can you go outside? We're still got business before the board.
Oh.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a second meeting this month? No.